going to kind of do a check-in to see who's here. Let me know. I see Howard's here, Mia, Rick, Mary. Great to see your faces. Hey, Frank. Good to see you here. So just kind of give another maybe 2 minutes for people to dial in. I'm excited. This is the last day of our 3-day challenge.
Yeah.
I know I've heard many of you like great things and great growth from many of you already in just the 2 days we've had so far. So I'm excited to see where this third day takes you. Hello, Carla, welcome. But just so you guys know, like it doesn't end here. I'm going to tell you guys about a special opportunity that only happens twice a year if you want to continue working with me. And it's something that Alicia did last time, but you get to, it's going to basically involve 6 weeks of this, like more of this, especially for those of you who have called in on the Zoom. Alicia, I was just telling them about the bundle that I offered last time that you did, and that I'm going to bring it back.
Yeah.
You're muted, by the way. I don't know if that's intentional. Morning, Ashley.
Let me know if it's okay for me to rave about that.
Yeah, go for it.
Brave, I
So,
want to hear.
yeah, so basically I've been taking classes on my own from YouTube to Creative Life. Okay, those have been very beneficial. I just took my CPP exam yesterday, so I've been learning a lot. um, you know, things that you need to know as a photographer, you know, it's like as a baseline. So I'm really glad I did that. So the beauty of Caroline's online workshop, no, the lessons, I don't know how you would call them, the you know, the different, is that it brings all that complexity into, oh, this is what I need for these situations. And she gives very practical, down to earth tips that work. I'm still growing in my photography. That is not fake humility. I know where I am. Okay. I know that I can deliver decent images to my clients, but I'm not where I want to be. I've been purchasing the different gear that I needed, okay? Because in some situations I need specific gear. But what I like about those is that I can basically, I told her that finally I was able to connect the dots, okay, when I saw her lessons. And then after a session, I can always look at my images and, you know, see what I would like to improve. And then I can go back to that lesson and say, oh, okay, how come I never did this? And she taught it. Okay. Yeah. So I particularly, I love them. I love them. And I think I got all about light, all about flash, the pickup points. And there are a
There
few
was
more.
pickup points for families, pickup points for couples, all about light, all about flash, and then how do I
And
use this
something
fancy?
about how to create a consistent brand, could it be?
Oh yeah, you got a bonus. That was a
Yeah,
bonus course.
yeah. And
That which was
so
about branding.
so one thing that I maybe I was thinking out of the box. So you say this, Caroline, that the pickup points can be a dog with its human. Okay. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a couple or a family. And I had one situation where there was a single quinceañera. And what I did is, okay, let's use a cake topper, you know, approach. Even if she didn't have a, let's say, a partner, okay, but it was the thought or the, yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
love
explain
that.
that later. 'Cause they don't know that part yet. Or they don't, or for those of you who haven't taken pickup points yet, you won't know what she's talking about yet. But I'll let you continue that thought after. But thank you so much for sharing that. So yeah, I'm going to tell you more about that opportunity at the end of it, but it's a 1-week offer where I'm going to take on new students into my cohort. So Alicia was part of my winter cohort. I only take on 2 cohorts a year, winter and summer. So today I'm going to open up enrollment for summer people, and that's why I'm going to take on a small group of people, work with you through the summer, and then have you, on your merry way, rocking those portrait sessions. So to kind of summarize what you've learned so far, remember I said that in order to have amazing pictures, you have to, have a great vision, you have to be confident with your gear, you have to understand your lighting, and the last one is connection, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today, posing and directing people. This summer version of the 3-day challenge, we're focusing on natural light, but if you sign up for the bundle 6-week program after, like, we will touch on flash and natural light, but just for the sake of time for the free one, I'm trying to go deep into one thing rather than like spreading out thinly. And then if you want more about flash, then we'll do that in the winter with the next winter cohort. So with that said, let's jump into today. So I guess before we go any deeper, I want you to think about, like, what if you were able to photograph people in 15 minutes? How would that change your life as a photographer? So just picture that for a moment. Think about the times when people have ran late, when you've had less than cooperative kids, and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to just get these pictures before this kid melts down anymore, right? How would that change your life? Now, today, I'm going to give you the last piece of the puzzle for you to be able to do that, right? I already taught you how to master your camera, or showed you what you need to do to master your camera. You got to get out there and practice it for muscle memory's sake. I also showed you what to do in natural lighting, all the common problems you're going to run into and how you can quickly remedy them. So today we're going to focus on the last part, which is posing and directing people. Now, just to kind of give me an idea of where you guys are at, like, throw out some, if you're on the Facebook group, type it in the chat. In my group, you can feel free to yell it out or type it in our chat as well. But what's the most difficult part about posing and directing people? Like, think about the last client you worked with who was just, made you feel like that. What made it hard? At least what made it hard for you in that
Oh,
situation. Yeah.
my oldest daughter, not the one in the pictures today, but my other daughter, she hates me to take her picture because she hates to pose. She when I ask her to stand tall in her tummy, it's like, I don't know what that means. And, it's just very difficult to get her to, and I ask her, okay, so just push your chin a little bit forward and down. And so she'll like sink her head down and squint her eyes, and it's like, no, Grace, honey, just relax, and just lower your chin just a little and just kind of move it forward, stretch your neck. And I make it sound, I'm thinking anyway, as easy as possible. And I'm realizing that it is more how children perceive what you're saying, as opposed to that natural pose, because I'm telling her to do bits and pieces of her body at one time, instead of, if I said, why don't you just freely run towards the water, she would just gracefully go, so that's what I'm learning, is the difference between an adult listening and understanding how to break those pieces down, and the children. And that's on me. That's all on me, on how I explain it to them,
Yeah, and that's what I mean by directing. How you communicate it to them is directing, right? The difference between how you tell them, right? You can say, like, gently close your eyes and just soak in the moment, right? Versus like, okay, close your eyes, right? Like same messaging delivered differently, and it's going to get very different results. So yeah, I'm seeing people talk about shyness, like how to break the ice when you have very awkward people who don't know what to do with their bodies, right? So all of these are things that you will typically encounter while you are trying to pose people. Other common things you can run into also include like cranky children, or not to stereotype, but sometimes men who just don't want to be in pictures, like men who are like just there because their families made them be there, or and sometimes women too, but I find that more so men tend to be the ones that are like, trying to put up this wall that they're just too cool for this. Teenagers, right, can also be too cool for this. And elders, grandparents can also be too cool for this. So how do you break the ice quickly with these people? And that's what I'm going to share with you today. Now, I think before getting there, I kind of want to share with you some embarrassing moments of where I started as well. Couple of my early portrait sessions, this was one of my early baby sessions. They hired me to come to their house. I'm thankful it was a paid gig, but I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to work lighting at the time. So I was just looking for a naturally lit room. All right, there's a couch, that's beautifully lit. Sit there. I don't know why I made them go back to back. I would not make a family go back to back now unless it was very intentional. But otherwise, it's like they just look like they're sitting there on the couch. Like this doesn't look. I mean, I'm sure they loved it because they knew they were hiring a beginner anyway. But this is not going to be on any portfolio. This is not going to wow anyone. I'm not even proud of it, right? I'm showing you guys in private because I want you to know that I wasn't always where I am today, that it was also a process. And I want to encourage you to embrace this process. Don't judge your beginning with my middle, right? It's taken me years to get to where I'm at. But be encouraged that you can also get to where I'm at as well. So with that said, here's another one of my early weddings. Look at the crop on that. I went out and bought a 7200, for the wedding. I bought an 85 and I thought, sweet, I can create all these great bokeh now. But what's lacking? There's no chemistry, there's no story, there's no composition. You could tell that I put my center focus smack dab in the middle, and the focal dot was right on his eyeball, right? You could just split this right down the middle, right there. I cut off part of her face, not even intentionally, because nowadays I do a lot of intentional cropping of the face, right? But this was not intentional. So my portraits were not always what you see today, and you would not find these online nowadays. So the things that I struggled with, and the reason why I purposely do go back to my old work is because I try to remember where some of you guys are right now. I'm trying to get in the headspace of what it felt like when I was first creating, because by doing that, I can understand what my struggles were, and that's how I help you with what your struggles are, because I've been there too. And then I'll show you how I got out of it. So some of the things that I struggled with was repetitive poses. I felt like I just kept doing the same thing over and over again. Anytime I got stuck, just repeat again, right? One of the I don't know what I was doing here. Like I had the baby sit on a chair. I put a napkin to cover his wee-wee. And then, I guess we should get the parents in the picture, sit next to the kid. Like there's like no directing. It looks so awkward. It looks so contrived, right? And it was not a one-time thing. It happened again and again and again. And I felt like every time I got stuck, I just kept defaulting back to like, okay, just sit there and just be next to your kid. Because I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what else to do. If they went for an outfit change and they came back, I would then repeat this again because I didn't know what to do. If I got stuck, if we moved to a different location, I found myself going back to the same thing again. And when I look back at the picture, I'm like, oh my God, it's like the same poses that I just keep doing, because I didn't know what to do next. Some of the other things I struggled with was the clients were stiff and emotionless. If I didn't connect with them or they just weren't engaging with me and the camera, I would chalk it up to like, oh my God, they're so stiff. Oh my God, they're so like, this person is so boring, you know? But what I didn't know is that, you know, that's actually my responsibility. That's my job to bring that out of them. And if they are stiff, it's my job to loosen them up and make them feel comfortable. I can't just blame it on them, because at the end of the day, when they look at the pictures and they see this like clueless looking face on the baby expression, like that's on me, right? Like, you didn't get my baby to smile, you didn't get my baby to relax. And worst of all, they would walk away feeling like that was kind of an unforgettable experience. How many times have you talked to a groom? Typically it's a groom. And like another classic example too was I was at a resort a couple summers ago when resorts were open, and I was sitting next to a very famous NFL player. And we talked, you know, he found out what I was doing. We were talking, and I found out that he had gotten married just a year ago. And I was like, chances are, I bet I know who photographed it. So I asked him, who was your photographer? He's like, I don't know, some girl. Like, I don't remember. Okay, that's like, you know, not just a one-time thing. I've had many incidences where, for example, I'll photograph a family and I'll ask them, how long have you been married? Oh, 5 years. I'm like, oh, who photographed your wedding? And they're like, oh, I don't remember their name anymore. Like, I don't want to be that forgettable photographer, because that's the reason why I'm photographing their family and not their wedding photographer, because they forgot about their wedding photographer, right? So you definitely don't want to walk away from a portrait session like this having them forgot their experience with you. So if you don't really connect with them and make you remember them, they're going to, as soon as they're out the door, they're not even going to remember you. You were forgettable, right? So it's really about, you know, making them relate to you and remember you and want to work with you again. That's what good directing and posing is all about, because it gives them a good experience. The other thing I ran into was grumpy children. Now, I used to just say, oh my God, this kid's such a brat. Oh my God, this kid like is inconsolable, you know, like they're unconsolable. But at the end of the day, the clients are going to go to the photographer who was able to make the kid not grumpy. And nowadays, especially if it's a grumpy children, I actually find like extra joy in connecting with them, because I know this was an extra challenging child. And I love proving to the parents that I am the one who can crack open this, you know, block of ice for you. The other thing that I ran into was the photos just lacked personality. They were kind of stiff, you know, and really I can tell it lacks personality when at the end of the day, I can't tell you anything about the clients myself. That I couldn't tell you what made them laugh. I can't tell you, you know, what their dynamics are. So part of us as photographers is so much like being a counselor in many ways. And I think with what I'm about to show you today with the sneak peek of my pickup points, that's what it allows you to do and helps you bring out a lot of these qualities so that you connect on a more intimate level. You know, once they start sharing with you some of like their things that make them laugh and things that, you know, and some people get real intimate with me at these sessions. Like I think I've mentioned before, like at boudoir sessions, I swear, I think she hired me just so she could talk to me, like starts talking about her in-laws and her struggle with her marriage. And, you know, I struggle with being a mom and her identity. And like, it became like a full-on therapy session, but she loved it. And the photos I got from her were so vulnerable as a result, right? And I think that's what makes them remember you. And that's how you capture their personalities, deeper, more intimate personalities than probably any other photographer has. The other thing that I found was really lacking was a wow factor, just something that really made the picture stand out. And like I said, like the bell curve, right? Most of the pictures are going to fall in this middle anyway, but I like to make sure that I at least have a few photos that are really going to wow them and make them remember me. But like I mentioned, most of them are coming for this. And even the photos in this average, you can still make it wow. So let me give you some examples of what I mean. You know, we were in a beautiful location, thankful for that. But in terms of the posing, like there's not much happening here. Composition is pretty basic. Um, yeah, it's okay. You know, I mean, I still keep in touch with them and I still photograph them till this day. So I can tell you firsthand that they do in fact have these framed around the house still. But you won't see it in my portfolio, right? Beyond being special to them, like it's not that wow. Look at the splotchy lighting that I'm dealing with here. This is like bad lighting. I would not shoot in this kind of lighting now. I at least got the girl to be happy though, the little girl to be happy. So mom and dad, I don't know where they're looking and he looks like he's in the middle of talking. I'm sure they love it now because their daughter is 12 now. So when they look at this, I'm sure what they cherish is how precious she is. So if anything, what I want you to also remember is to give yourself grace and don't be so hard on yourself. When you're not satisfied with your work, know that they probably love it. I know you feel like you can do better as a photographer. I know I can do better as a photographer, but at least I can sleep at night knowing that I know they love this image. As an artist, I want to do better and I will continue to work on that. And I'm happy to report that I did get better. My portraits did level up. My lighting, I started to understand proper lighting and exposure. I started to understand how to direct and pose them to make them feel natural and relaxed. You know, paying attention to the little details of the swooping of things and the motion and the lines in the picture, the composition, right? And just as a quick reminder, again, like I said, in the pyramid, right? If you want to be able to realize your full potential as a creative and operate at your full creative capacity, you have to first take care of your foundational blocks. And at the bottom of the foundational blocks is you have to know what your vision is. If you don't know what your vision is, you're not going to know what you are working towards. You're going to be like the saying, the chicken with the head cut off. You could be snapping away with no direction in mind and no goal, not knowing whether you are achieving your goal or not. And you probably are just clicking away and you could even be on the wrong path and not even realize it. So you need to know where that destination is so that you know you can check to make sure that the path you're going is going towards that direction. For those of you who have done coaching with me, you know how big I am about defining that end goal and not being afraid to pivot to get back on track and how to create this path for you to get to that goal. So that's how, you know, these moments happen. You know, I know what mood I'm trying to create, so I know what kind of lighting to stay within. I know what kind of emotions I'm trying to go with. Because my lighting is down, because I already connect with the clients. When the baby is cranky like this, that's okay. I just won't shoot the baby crying. Let's turn the baby around and take the head out the frame. So the baby is wailing on this end, and that's okay. I got a quick, super cute shot of this and then pick up the baby and soothe the baby, right? But that was okay that the baby was like, I could tell about to cry. Another thing is you need to have a plan. You do have to have a loose plan. And like I always mention, I don't like rigid plans. I don't like having a shot list per se, or at least not a rigid shot list, because especially when you're working with children, it might not go according to plan. And if you are so stuck on that shot list, you're going to miss out on other opportunities. So for me, I like to have a more loose plan, like a road, and let things unfold naturally. So for this one, it was three kids under 4. That's a lot of like energy to wrangle and to get their attention. You get this one kid to focus and the other kids have lost focus, you know? So a lot of it was me playing with them and just trying to see. I had mom hold the little one up because that at least makes her laugh. I had dad put this one on his shoulder because that at least held her in place. Then I let the one who was the most direction taker, you know, be the one that's on her own. And now it's like, okay, let's see if I can like get her to, then I could focus on just directing her, right? this moment, I love the way she's looking at her little sister here. And that just unfolded the way it is. I actually got this one to laugh. This actually is really fitting of their dynamics because they have this kind of love-hate sister relationship where they really love each other, but they're also a little competitive of each other, you know? So it's like, hey, I don't want you on dad. I want to be on dad's shoulder. But it kind of looks like she's hugging her sister. So have a plan so that you're able to capture all the things as they are unfolding, but with a direction, with a path to stay on. This is like another pose that I love. I actually photographed them 10 years prior to this. So they were 6, 8, no, I got it wrong. It was 4, 6, and 8. And he wasn't born yet. And then, so they came back 10 years later and, you know, I recreated some of the same poses that we had did 10 years ago. But now the kids all have an extra digit in front of their ages, which was really crazy to see. And the next level up was know your light. You have to understand your light so that you're not fumbling with your lighting. And you can at least understand and know and have confidence that whatever you photograph is at least going to be well lit. That way you can focus on what we're going to be talking about today, which is posing and directing, which is connecting with the clients, making them do fun things, and being, like Howard says, always being ready to improvise because you're not worried about lower level energy stuff like lighting or your camera. So quick reminder, have a clear vision, start with a clear vision, go in with the shoot with intention, know what you are trying to create, what story you are trying to tell, what mood you are trying to create. Make sure that you have the lighting set up for that. If it's a moody shot, make sure that you already have the moody light set up. If it is a light and airy shot, make sure you have a light and airy shot light situation set up, whether it's natural or in studio. That way, when your clients come in, you could focus just on connecting with them. So today's objective is going to be, in theory, you now know how to work your camera and you know how to work your lighting, right? Continue to practice that till it's muscle memory, but you at least have the knowledge now. Today's thing now is going to be working on connecting with them so that you can pose and direct people in 15 minutes. It's good practice because if you can do it in 15 minutes, imagine what you can do in a full session, right? But if things run late, if clients run late, if wedding timelines run late, you at least have the confidence to know what you can achieve in this 15 minutes. And also for those of you who know about my mini sessions, my mini sessions are very profitable and they are only 15-minute sessions. I make 6 figures a year just operating mini sessions alone, working 3 weekends out of the entire year, right? I hustle hard launching them and shooting them, but you know, I've secured like a good fraction of my income as a result. So it's very profitable for you portrait photographers there. So that's what I want to show you today. Now, what inspired Pickup Points? This is me with my first toy piano as a child. My dad really forced me to take piano lessons. I loved it at first, then it became like a chore. And one of the things that we had to do was take annual exams with the California Teachers Association. And what that looked like is you show up to a room with a piano and there's about, I don't know, 4 proctors that are sitting there evaluating you. They test everything from, you know, how you play your scales, they give you sight reading, you have to do a listening test where they play and you have to guess what it is just based on what you hear. But you also have to memorize 4 songs and play it for them. One of the songs, this was my last year in piano before I quit, it's Bach's 2-part invention. And what that means is for those who aren't familiar with classical music, but your right hand and your left hand are essentially playing 2 different melodies. It's beautiful. The Bach is a genius in that, you know, how he was able to make 2 separate melodies come together in one piece. But when you break it down, they're 2 separate melodies. And where one hand is starting, this is in the middle. and vice versa, right? So there's no like clear start, like, and while I'm playing my piece, I got about halfway through and I thought, oh, home stretch, I'm almost there, you know, and I think I got a little bit too excited, lost concentration, and then I hit a wrong note. And once I hit that wrong note, I just didn't know how to pivot back. I was like, oh my gosh, what just, and then I couldn't pick up again. And the proctor's like, that's enough, move on. And I was like, oh my God, I failed. I totally failed. Like, they didn't even want to hear me finish the song. At the end of it, surprisingly, I actually passed with honors. And what they told me stuck with me, obviously, you know, 20, 30 years later. They said the reason why you weren't able to pick up again is because you didn't have any pickup points. You memorized the music as one long song. So when you got stuck here, you had no other option but to come back to the beginning again. Instead, what you need to do is you need to break up this one long song into 4 chunks. So in quarters. So that way, when you're stuck, you just go back. You just have to memorize 4, basically, or it's essentially 3, right? Because 4 is you're already at the end. So it's like 3 main pickup points, how you start. And whenever you're stuck, you just go back to the closest pickup point. Fast forward to when I became a photographer. I am photographing, right? I feel like I'm on, and then all of a sudden my mind wanders a little bit. I don't know how many of you have that issue, but I genuinely think I have ADHD, but we didn't diagnose it at my age, and when I was a child, that is. But my mind wanders, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, what was I doing? And it could be as simple as like, I see someone in the background doing something, or I hear a child in the background talking, and it's like, I'm like, you know, and up like squirrel, like that dog is like squirrel. And so for me, I'm like, wait, what was I just shooting? Where was I trying to go with this? So then I get stumbled. I try to go back and I'm like, wait, what pose did I already do? What did I not do? So as a result, I go back to the beginning again. And that's how I kept getting those repetitive poses, because I kept doing, I would go until I got stuck and then I'd come back to the beginning, right? I would do what I'm sure all of you have done. I created a shot list of everything I wanted to shoot, but I only memorized the beginning and maybe a couple at the end. So I go down the shot list, I lose track because of now when I'm looking back at the shot list, it looks like one long shot list. So I get stuck. So then I go back to the beginning again. And I just keep going back to the beginning again. And as a result, the poses just keep looking the same, right? So nowadays, what I do is I break up my sessions into 4 chunks. So I go until I lose focus. And then rather than starting from the beginning of this, I start from the beginning of my second pickup point. In a full session, I now have 4 pickup points. So if I go until I lose focus, then I move on to the next pickup point, rather than going back to the beginning. Then I go until I lose focus again, move on to the next pickup point. So this has really allowed me to keep moving forward. It keeps inspiration flowing, because when I hit that creative block, rather than like, oh my God, what do I do? And wanting to go backwards, I'm able to go forward instead. And when I go forward, it helps me have new ideas now. And I don't feel like I'm constantly doing the same thing again. It helps me create genuine expressions because I'm not flustered now. So I'm able to remain engaged instead, which makes people feel comfortable. And as you'll see with a lot of my pickup points, a lot of it is very engaging and interactive. And so it loosens them up a lot. It also helps me maintain control as a director. How many times have you had a bridesmaid or an uncle who tried to tell you what to do? When they do that, it kind of throws me off my game, you know, because now I'm trying to still be polite to them, but yet it's kind of distracting too, right? So pickup points gives me a plan. And that helps you maintain control and not get sidetracked by these people too much. If it's an important person, I sometimes will cater to them. If they say, I really want a picture in front of this fountain. Okay, let's do it. Let's get that picture in front of the fountain, you know, because you are mom and I'm going to do what you want. And I am in a service industry after all. But all right, we got that. Let's get back on my plan now and finish what I know, because I know you're going to love the pictures. I create much more than this fountain photo you just requested. The other huge thing that it helped me with was pacing myself. How many of you have ran into the situation where you're like, wait, have I shot enough? Have I, or have I, is it too little? Or have I overshot? Or, and then you go home and you realize you totally overshot, right? But you just, I didn't have a way of pacing myself. And when I felt like the shoot should have ended, I doubted myself. And I'm like, wait, am I really ready to end it? I think I got it. You know what? Just to be safe, why don't we keep shooting a little bit more? And then I overshoot, right? Just to be safe. But but also when I concluded with such lack of enthusiasm and confidence as well. It's like, okay, yeah, I think we're good. I think we got it all. Versus we got it. Oh my God, that was awesome, right? But I wasn't able to confidently say I got it because I didn't know. I wasn't able to pace myself. So that's what pickup points also helped me to do too, because it helped me know that I actually got through the 4 main chunks that I needed to get through. And lastly, it helps me be more efficient. I'm not stumbling as much. I'm breaking the ice much faster. And so we get through these shoots way quicker. Sometimes my full sessions, I can knock them out in 40 minutes, even though I tell them it was an hour shoot. It actually gives a lot more time for just chatting in between, breaking the ice in the middle. Like, so if they come and they're super stiff, I know I'm okay if I need to spend 10 minutes just talking to them and loosening them up. If I need to go over their wardrobe and make sure that they look good before I start clicking the shutter, because I'm confident in my ability to work efficiently. So pickup points. The takeaway from today is break your shoots into 15-minute chunks. Rather than trying to do it all in one, break it up into 15-minute chunks. I'm going to give you an example of 2 of my pickup points today. But just so for reference, I have 4 essential pickup points that I try to get through in every full session. That's cake toppers. That's what Alicia was talking about earlier. Walk, run, cheek to cheek, and prom. Bonus pickup points is carry and laying down. What this means is I spend about 10 to 15 minutes per pickup point. If it's a really hard to reach client and it takes me 15 minutes to do each, then that was an hour session right there. If it's a client where they loosened up really quickly and the connection was natural, they came on time and ready, where I didn't have to redress them or anything like that, and we got through each in 10 minutes, then that's 40 minutes. And then I'm able to bonus jump into some of these for fun. This is what I meant by out here. These 4 are the center of my bell curve that I definitely need to get, right? These 2 are the extra bonuses where if we're all good and no interruptions, then I know I can hit some of these real creative stuff for them. So today I'm going to go over the first 2 pickup points for you, just so you can kind of have an idea and get started. And actually your challenge today is actually going to be to go out there and use them. So number 1 is cake topper. Cake topper is essentially just pretend they are on the top of a cake. That kind of picture perfect, cute little statues, This is a great place to start off if they are stiff and if I am stiff, because it doesn't require a lot of, it allows me, it's a pretty stiff kind of photo anyway, but what comes from it is kind of these more fun, creative ways of like positioning things, right? Cake toppers could be a dog, could be stuffed animals. This is what Alicia was saying earlier too, that it's not restricted to just kids. This could be 2 couples, this could be a whole family, right? But when you get them just like that, it's a good place to start. It's a good place to test out your lighting and your background, just to make sure how everything looks in the back. Do I need to clean it up? Does the light look okay? Because all they're doing is sitting there anyway, right? Cake toppers with stuffed animals, cake toppers with dog. You could even have them look away from you as you do the cake topper. And especially if it's a couple, I might have them just stand there and look at the water. Why? Because that gives me a time to test my composition, make sure my settings are right, make sure that I have the right lens and I like the framing of it all before I make them turn around and look at me, because then now that increases the pressure, right? But this one, they get to just look away while I make sure everything else fits in place. So cake topper also works for group photos, like at a wedding with all the bridesmaids. It's a very stiff and formal photo, but I love it for that reason. It's that charm. It's that middle of the bell curve. It's that average photo that everyone's going to be expecting, but you're going to do it really well. And these are the photos that people are going to frame and what they share years and years from now, right? As much as I love creating those creative stuff, what I find is when I see them sharing their anniversary photos 5 years from now, it is sometimes the most boring photo they choose to share. And that's because everyone's looking at the camera and looking really beautiful. This is another version of cake topper, you know, have them stand up there, hold hands like a cake topper, but then you can start adding a little, once they get comfortable up there, you can start adding a little bit of stuff like movement to it, twist. I love the way the wind was blowing her dress, so I made her angle. I made her do like an S curve with her body to just accentuate her beautiful curves. Another cake topper. This to me is like the classic cake topper, which is like super stiff, hold hands and just stand there, right? But I think it's also so adorable and classic at the same time. But from there, this is where you can start expanding now. And like, while they're at cake topper, hey, why don't you give her a spin? Go for a dance and spin. Now that I know, I definitely got the stiff photo that I showed you previously, right? But now that I know that the framing is right, the lighting is right, now I can start giving movement to it and playing with it a little bit. So why don't you give her a spin? Why don't you give her a dip, right? So that cake topper alone was able to open up to all these other opportunities. This also started off as cake topper. 2 people on top of a cake, right? But I was like, oh, how cute if he kissed her belly. They look like little cake toppers to me, right? It's kind of a very like statue-like pose. It's to get that just very picturesque, quiet moment. However, from cake toppers, it's the perfect transition into walking poses. So walking is my second one. So when I have them on cake topper, I go all the way until I've run out of ideas. When I run out of ideas, I then now make them walk because that changes the look of it. So for them, if you have kids who won't stay in one place, a really good way to keep them in one place is to make them be on something. So this is a log here. And you tell the kids, oh my gosh, like grab mom and dad's hands. And this is also great if you have very stoic parents. Rather than telling the parents, hey, can you go on that log? You tell the kids. Remember, I was telling you yesterday, speak through the kids. Hey, kids, do you think mom and dad's able to balance on this log? I bet you could. You think they could? Why don't you grab their hands and take them on there and try it out? See if you guys can all balance walking across the log together. And, you know, and you can purposely, like, who wants to take the lead? That's usually important for me. The order that they go in is important to me. So I'll kind of dictate that. Like, oh, you grab her hand, you grab her hand, and grab her hand. Okay, now, so with him, he was the one who was able to take directions the most. His little sister was super, super shy. So she was going to follow whatever he does. Grab your sister, you know, and then mom, grab her hand, dad, grab mom's hand. And then I spoke to the son. Let's see if you and your family can like balance across the log. But that made a super cute moment of them walking across and they're all in one place. They're engaged, they're not running away, and they're looking at me because they're proud that they were able to do it. Another walking moment. So from the stiff walking pose, now make them walk away from you. This is also a great way to take off the pressure as well if you were trying to find that perfect place to freeze them in as they're walking away. Then once you get that and you like it, make them turn around and walk towards you. So when the walking can be walking away or walking towards you. That's how you can give different varieties. Then let's say that you have someone who doesn't want to cooperate. I had a child who didn't want to walk with her mom or didn't want to stand with her mom. That's fine. Mom and dad just kiss in the background, just stay kissing in the background and just slowly walk with me and pace along this child. And I followed the child and I got something more creative as a result, right? Don't force it. If the kid doesn't want to hold the parent's hand, fine, go with it. But I needed to make sure that the parents didn't look awkward in the background, right? So that's why I made them kiss, so that at least they're going to be in the picture, but looking good while they're at it. Same thing with this doggy. I really wanted a solo portrait of the doggy, so I put the doggy on top of a log because that at least makes sure that he's going to stay put at least for a split second, and then had the parents in the background. When I do a full session, I do 4 to 6 pickup points. So I just gave you 2 pickup points, right? And you can see how many variety I got in just that like short little time. Spend 10 to 15 minutes on each pickup point. That's kind of, I found, what my attention span happens to be anyway. After 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to forget what I was doing. So it's a good time to reset and pick a different pickup point at that point. If it's a mini session, I do 1 to 2 of them, and I do 10 to 15 minutes each. So it either turns out to be a 1 15-minute session or a 20-minute session with 2 pickup points, right? So depending on how I schedule it. If I do outdoors, like the ones that you saw with this family here, I really love this location. So I made these 20-minute mini sessions just to really be able to take advantage. But if it's an indoor session like this, these are 15-minute sessions because there's not too much variety. It's all about the posing. So I'm able to get through the posing really fast. And I'm actually way quicker nowadays. Like I can actually do a pickup point in like 5 minutes if needed. So I know that I can knock out probably 3 pickup points in 15 minutes and get a ton of great variety for them. So with that said, this week, your challenge is to connect. Now that you're not worried about front lighting or back lighting, now that you're not worried about what f-stop to use, right? Because you've practiced those the last 2 days. I know we can all use more practice, but you know, that comes with time. Today, I want you to focus on connecting with your clients or whoever you're photographing. So get out there. Your challenge for today is find a willing subjects, hopefully like either a couple or if you have multiple kids, 2 kids, set a timer for 15 minutes. And I want you to try cake topper and walking and see how many different varieties you can get in this 15 minutes. Remember that in that one pose alone, you can do wides, you can do medium, you can even do real up close stuff for some real artsy stuff, right? So within that one pose alone, you can get 3 very different looks already from that. So push yourself, you know, and then if you shoot them from the back, shoot them from the front, shoot them from the top, shoot them from the bottom. In that one pose alone, you'll already be able to get like 6 different shots, right? So go out there with the timer, 15 minutes, and I want to see what you can create. So excited for you guys to try this out and even more excited to see the results that you create. Bring it back and we'll critique it together in the group. Now, what I was talking about, I know today is the last of our 3-day challenge, but it doesn't end here. If you are, let me see. Let me change what I'm sharing on the screen. Okay, there we go. I stopped, okay. So here we go. So what I am excited to bring back because we had such success in the winter cohort. The winter cohort, we were able, like, just to see the progress from a lot of the people were amazing. And so I would love to offer it again, but this time the summer version. This time, now that you have sun, because when we did it with the winter cohort, because of it was raining most parts of the world, so most people ended up focusing it heavily on indoor type portraits. But this time, now that the sun is out, we can actually focus a lot more on the sun stuff. So what I'm offering is a 6-week program where you will get to learn how to master both natural light and flash. You're going to learn how to pose and genuinely direct couples and children. This is going to help you operate at your highest creative energy. What's included? 5 of my pre-recorded photography classes. You're going to get how do I use this fancy camera, all about light, all about flash, pickup points for families, pickup points for couples. And then you're going to, you have the option to add on 6 weekly Zoom studies group sessions. And all of you will be added into a VIP private Facebook group for bundle students only. So like the winter cohort has their own group. So then I'll create a group for the summer cohort. You all will become, you know, colleagues and friends, help supporting each other, just like what we did in these 3-day challenges. I'll give you challenges each week, but instead of having only 1 day to complete it, you'll have a whole week to complete it. And, you know, if you keep sharing along the way, you actually have time to go revise as well, right? Because I know some of you shared your work, I gave you some feedback, but then now we're on to the next challenge. So with this one, you'll actually have time to go out and reshoot some of the things as well. Enrollment ends on July 2nd, and we begin our first weekly study session on July 6th. It's going to be 6 weeks straight on or yes, 6 consecutive weeks on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. So there's 2 options for the bundle. One option is if you want just the course bundle. So if you only want the pre-recorded classes, then you can sign up just for that. You'll still be in the VIP group, so you will still have the challenges and you can still engage in the group. If you want the live coaching call, which is like what the VIP people have been doing, calling in on a private Zoom link with me, then we actually will sit in on a Zoom call once a week. The way it works is I send you off to go do your class first. So this week, go watch Fancy Camera or All About Light. Then we come back for a study group discussion after. So then you come back and you say, hey, you know, I understood what you meant by this part, but I'm having trouble implementing this part. Or in my studio, it actually looks like this. You know, my windows are actually here. How would you recommend me doing this effect with given where my windows are? And then I can help you really troubleshoot that kind of stuff. For those of you who already own the bundle and want to only sign up for coaching, reach out to me and I can get you on just the coaching call since you already own the courses anyway. But the courses are all discounted right now. It's 43% off regular price. And if you do it with the live coaching, with the coaching discount, it's like 46% off of what the retail value is. We have enrollment is open for a week and then I close it and then I work exclusively with just this cohort. And the reason is because as many of you have known, when I offer these free challenges, we get like hundreds of people signing up. And so my attention is pretty like spread thinly. But when we have these cohorts, it's a really intimate group. And I'm able to really like help each of you and reach out. And as those of you who sign up for the VIP, you know, like how, you know, I actually ask and address each of you, how you're doing. So yeah, take your portraits to the next level. It's great for family photographers. It's going to help you with your wedding photography. And also, if you're an aspiring photographer, it's actually great for all levels. I've had people, you know, who said they've been photographers for 40 years and how the winter cohort really helped them still. There's going to be things that in lighting that so many people have told me this, like, I never thought of aperture that way. Like the way I showed you how to see aperture on day one, right? Or with lighting, the 3-stop difference, like little tricks like that. There's a lot of photographers who've been doing this for so long who just never really put a formula to it. And I think that comes from me being a physics teacher. I like having formulas to things because if you rely on memorization, it's easy to forget that later. But if you understand the why behind it, you'll be able to solve any situation. So yeah, my goal is to help you unlock your full creative potential, taking care of those foundational blocks so that you really have the energy to focus on creating, you know, really like things that are out of the box because you know that you got that center of the bell curve taken care of. The live coaching schedule is going to look like this. If you don't sign up for the live coaching schedule, then this will happen through the Facebook group where you're engaging with, like, I don't know about you guys, but I will often like sign up for an online course and then not watch it or not make time to watch it. This one I'm holding you accountable for. I'm actually making sure that you watch it with the group and so that we can actually have a discussion on it. And I give you a homework assignment that week based on it so that I know that you are really, and this is again from my teaching background, right? We call these like cumulative projects. You teach a concept and at the end of it, the students have to go demonstrate that they understand that concept in a project. So that's what I'm doing for you each week. The first week, July 6th, is an introduction. Last time we did this, it was 5 weeks and it was just content. I wanted to add 1 extra week on this, really more for getting to know you. So this first week is really more like introductions for me to really understand who you are as a photographer, your business, where you're coming from, and for you to understand each other so that you know who to lean on. Then July 13, we're going to be focusing on mastering your camera settings. You will have watched this before attending class, then you'll come on and then we'll do a study group on it. Ask any questions that you have, and then I'll give you an assignment to do. The next one is all about light, where you'll be mastering natural light indoor and out. Then the week after, we're going to talk about strobes and flash for weddings, studio portraits, and any other strobes and flash situations you may run into. The next week, we're going to talk about posing for family and children of all ages. And then the last week, we will go into couples and how to efficiently bring out the romance and fun in all of your couples portrait sessions. You can check out what other photographers have said about my courses. People from anywhere from like 40-year experience to new. If you are a new photographer, this is going to be the quickest way to elevate your work, to go fast. It's going to save you so much guesswork. These are like examples of people who took the course, like Mason here. He binge watched the course overnight before his session ran out, and then shared with us the work he created the very next day. I just love seeing that. So the same thing with Tran. She did the same thing, like watched it the night before, ran out, executed it on her family sessions. I just love how everything came out with that. Same thing with Angelina. Angelina's been a long time student of mine, and I just love seeing how much her work and her brand has transitioned as well. So, and then there's also FAQs if you have questions, like just how long. They're going to be 60-minute Zoom sessions, just like kind of how I find 60 minutes to be like just the right amount of commitment time. Efficient, but long enough to really dive into content. You'll have lifetime access to the course once you purchase it. The way that my courses are broken down into, they are like little bite-sized videos, anywhere from 5 to 10 minute videos, and 10 is on the long end. So what I have loved, what people have said, is that what they'll do is before a session, for example, especially the lighting one, what they'll do is, oh my gosh, this is an indoor lighting. This is an indoor wedding. Let me go back and just watch that video about how to use my flash indoors. Oh, this is an outdoor one. I want to use it, for sunset. Oh, let me just go back to that one chapter here. Maybe you're on a shoot and you're trying to set up your studio lights and you're finding, oh my God, why is the shadow looking like this? Then you can go back to that one chapter where I talk about studio lighting. I also, in the All About Flash one, I also go into all the common issues you're going to run into when you're setting up your studio lighting. So it's like, if you're finding that the shadows are falling like this and you don't like that, this is how you need to move the lights. If you're finding that it's looking too hot, like, flat flash, like I know a lot of people hate flash because they think it looks so flash, like, right? If it's looking like that, then this is the solution. This is what you do in that situation. So me being a natural teacher, a lot of this was documented as I was learning it. So when I was learning it, I was making notes of all the challenges I ran into. And that's what I'm giving you solutions for, because I'm pretty sure you're all going to run into, a couple of the same problems I ran into. And so if I can save you some time, like that would make me so happy. Just cutting, giving you kind of like a shortcut to success, basically. But yeah, I hope to have many of you guys there with me and work with me on a more intimate level for the next 6 weeks with weekly challenges and grow together. So any questions? Let's see. How many photos do you get per pickup point? I get about, so in a full session, I tell them that they're going to get 40 photos. So I guess you can say about 10 photos per pickup points. I like to under promise, over deliver. So I tell them 40 and I can go up to 70 at that point. But at least if I know it's like a really stiff client, then at least I have fulfilled what I promised them. At a mini session, I tell them 6 photos, but I give them more like 10. And so, yeah, it's about 10 to 15 photos per 15 minutes of shooting time. Let's see. Yeah, Frank says, I love that the plan is loose, he's not a fan of rigid plans either. Yeah, you need to be able to to improvise and go with things, because you never know, like, weather could strike, or like you can show up and the place just does not look like what you were planning to do. And oftentimes I shoot in places that I've never seen before, so I really can't plan it to be so rigid. And also I found working with kids, like, it just leads to disappointment, because I never know what mood the child's going to be in, and I have to be ready to just play with the child. And like Clark shared in our VIP group yesterday, like the other day he was working with a child who just wanted to roll around the grass. He's like, okay, I'll roll around the grass with you, and was able to get very genuine portraits. But had he had a very rigid shot list, that wouldn't have made it on the shot list, and he would have been really frustrated trying to get the kid to fit into this mold, right? And I think that just is in general, in life in general, right? When you make things fit into a mold, you're going to reach frustration. But if you're able to just roll with it, you'll be much happier. Let's see. Frank says, I feel my background as a psychotherapist will help me build and maintain the relationships and help with grumpy kids. Absolutely. Not just grumpy kids, but grumpy couples too. Couples show up because they had just fought. I don't remember if I shared it to the big group or to the VIP group, but I recently did an engagement session where the couple showed up just after a fight, and it wasn't the first time that happened. And I had to play therapist in helping them, But with my pickup points, I have a lot of games that I make them play when they're in Cake Topper. In the full course, I give you a lot of ideas of what you can do once they're in the Cake Topper pose. But like one of them, for example, is something as simple as, actually, let me go to a nose to nose one. A real easy one with nose to nose is I just make them stare at each other in the eyes without talking, and just stand there and stare at each other for 3 minutes. And I want you to just communicate with each other through your eyes. If you've never tried it yourself, grab your significant other or partner or good friend and just do that exercise. And it is amazing how much closer you will feel to them. And that's what I do with a lot of my clients. If they are feeling a little bit stiff, I tell them, just stay there, and I just want you to stare at each other for 3 minutes. I don't think it lasts the full 3 minutes, to be honest. It doesn't take that long, but I tell them 3 minutes so that they know they're going to have to hold it for quite some time. And I walk away, and I simply just start to document what unfolds as a result. And it's beautiful. Like sometimes they start laughing, but definitely there's this softness that opens up after that. And I did it with my husband, and it's amazing, like how much more connected you feel as a result. So give it a try if you haven't. But that's another bonus pick-up point you can try out. All right. So with that said, I think I've answered all the questions that I see. If you have any more, feel free to comment in the group. I do get notifications, and I will come in and answer all the questions in waves. So VIP people, stay on, hang on tight, and I will have our private session now. And for everyone else, I hope to see you in the 6-week group, where we can continue to do this for 6 weeks long and really dive deeper into this. A lot of the stuff that we've talked about really just scratch the surface, and there's so much more to go in. Don Heda was also a previous group member too. I love the games and your pickup points. They helped me to get always genuine emotions in the photo. Thank you. But yeah, she was also a cohort member as well from winter. So always good to see familiar faces again. But you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope to continue connecting with you over the next 6 weeks in a more intimate space. Less people, so that we can really focus on giving more like in-depth critique of each other. Emily, this video will be available in our group until the end of next week. And then after that, it's available only to the VIP members. Do you comment on the images posted at, yes, hashtag 15-minute portrait challenge in your photos to make sure, because sometimes, with Facebook, the order they show you things can get lost and pushed down. So I'll make an effort at like once a day to at least click on that hashtag and see if I missed any photos as well. So see you guys in the group. looking forward to seeing your homework. Oh, and today's challenge, because it's a little bit more in depth, you can take the weekend to do it. So try it today, and if you need to, try it again tomorrow or Sunday, especially if you need to make arrangements to see people. If you're going to see your family this week, test it out on them. It's a great way to get some pictures of them. Yeah, Kim, I'm glad you were able to still catch it, and the recording will be up in the group too, so you'll be able to continue to see that. All right, let me disconnect from Facebook. VIP people, hang tight.